Well, welcome back. I'm your host, Michelle Connolly. I'm a certified Enneagram coach and a Symbis marriage coach. If this is your first time here, I want to give you a special welcome. You really have stumbled upon an incredible community. And for those returning, thanks again for not only committing to yourself, but committing to growth through this podcast and the information shared. I've missed our time of sharing and learning and growing through the Enneagram. And as we get back into all things Enneagram, I'm really excited. So last week I introduced Real Talk, and I just wanted to invite you that if there are topics you would like me to cover, please get in touch with me either through Instagram or email, and I will make it a point to highlight that topic. And if you have a specific question you want to ask, let me know. I'll chat about that too. You can look for these real talk episodes often, and I'm looking forward to those times. So, as you know, for those of you who have been with us for a while, we spend time together talking about, well, you guessed it, Enneagram. So, in previous episodes, as we've talked about Enneagram, we focused specifically on wings of an Enneagram type. Specifically, type 2 is what we had talked about. Now, I know it was a bit ago, but don't worry, we'll recap and get back on track. So, let's get into it. Wings. What are they? Wings are the salt and pepper of our main Enneagram type, lending itself to variations of our main type. So, wings are the numbers directly next to each main type. Now, remember that circle graph where 9 numbers all the way around? And if, for example, I'm a 2 Enneagram, if you see the number 2, there's a 1 before it and a 3 after. Those would be your wings, and they're my wings as well. Now, it's important to note that we can, at any given time, take on the characteristics of our wings, but we will always remain our main type with its core motivations. So, with that understanding that each person's Enneagram type, it is a combination of these types or wings, if you will. Wings can influence our main type positively or negatively, depending on your levels of alignment or levels of awareness. So, how aware are you within yourself and processing through certain circumstances? And wings, when influencing our main type positively, you might notice things like this. So, with your wing, it can add strength. For example, the part of the 8 that displays aggression, when utilizing in health, the 9 wing, they have access to more diplomacy and calmness. With a wing, you might even see it encourages adaptability. For example, a type 6 might use their 5 wing for a more analytical, factual approach to a problem. I kind of like that part. You might even see with your wing that it balances your core traits, like a perfectionistic type 1. They can develop a more compassionate 2 wing to become more forgiving and even less rigid. It can also drive personal growth by promoting a more well rounded and integrated personality. So when wings influence for negative aspects, as in the underdevelopment of a particular wing, it can amplify negative core tendencies, thus causing this internal conflict. So you might see it amplifies as a core fixation. For example, a type 1 with a 9 wing, they might suppress their anger even more to maintain a semblance of inner peace, which of course only makes the underlying resentment more intense. Again, these are negative ways in which you can use your wing. It can also increase stress. So, for example, an analytical type 5 with a 6 wing might become trapped in analysis paralysis, and then it causes anxiety, making it difficult for them to take action. And the other way in which we can see some of these negative aspects is that it creates this internal conflict. So, for example, a type 4 with a 3 wing, they may feel a conflict between their desire for unique identity, which is their 4, and their need for this external validation, the type 3. So, what are some key takeaways from what wings are and what they do? They are on either side of our main Enneagram. They can influence our type from a positive or negative stance. Positive meaning that it takes our troublesome attributes and gives us an opportunity to change our position or perspective. And negative meaning it can cause conflict between our main type and our wing, like the uniqueness of the type versus the inner struggle. So, how do we balance the usage of our wing with our type? Well, it sounds easy, but all these things take practice. So, here we go. Practice and get more familiar with your levels of awareness and alignment, really understanding who you are and why you do what you do. So, to add in the journey of wings and beyond, let's remind ourselves of what our core motivations are. Now, remember, there's 4 parts of our core motivation, starting with core fear, which is what a person is always running away from, might even be avoiding or trying to prevent from happening. It's that deep inside, we can believe that it is vital to our well being that we should avoid the very thing that we fear. Where core desire is what a person is always striving for and believing will bring them complete fulfillment. Core weakness, it's the core issue people are always wrestling with. And then core longing, it's the central message that a person's heart is always longing and thirsting to hear. Now, I personally think it is so cool that our main type is getting expanded. And when we add our extra flavorings, our salt and pepper, and change some of the ways in which each of us navigate certain situations, it expands the possibilities of the why we do what we do. So last time when we were together, we talked about Enneagram type 2 with a wing 1 and a wing 3. And I wanted to dive into Enneagram 4 with a wing 3. Why did I jump there? Well, to mix it up a little bit. But at some point, we will have gone through each type and dive into the wings of each type. So here's a little something about fours. Fours are romantic individualists whose core fear is being inadequate, emotionally cut off, even feeling plain and mundane, and sometimes feeling defective or even flawed or insignificant. Now, most people would say that fours are comfortable with feeling a wide range of emotions, but they're not comfortable with being a ball of emotions. They can be quick to put that aside to get things done, and they're known for being authentic in every way. Their core desire is being unique, special, and finding their authentic self. Where their weakness is that feeling that they are tragically flawed, something might even be foundational, that it's missing, and they believe that they lack things that others possess. But truly, fours long to be seen, and loved for exactly who they are, which is special and unique. So, as we get to know fours with wing three, we'll see things like a four who has introverted tendencies that now takes a risk and they do something that can be rare and share their feelings, helping them to not remain silent in their deep feelings. And with their wing three, it gives them the space to discover new things, solve mysteries and problems, and even pursue quests propelled by their constant thirst for knowledge. So, because fours can be insecure, it may hinder their ability to recognize that they are able to discover new things, solve mysteries and problems, and pursue quests propelled by their constant thirst for knowledge. So, if you are a four, or you know somebody who is, this is a great opportunity to remind yourself or those you know who are a four that they are good at discovering new things. They are problem solvers. And just like threes, they can have a constant thirst for knowledge. So, what are some ways it might translate differently for you as a four? Well, a four with a wing three, they want to be remembered for something, regardless of what they have done or accomplished, because their deep need to tie their identity to something that could stick, it makes them incredibly motivated to work hard and achieve great things. So, what might people notice about your why you do what you do as a four with a wing three? Well, endless creativity. Their powerful emotions provide them with inspiration. Their ability to better understand these emotions of others, since they're well connected with themselves, they naturally read other people's feelings and intentions. And they have this strong drive to succeed. They're passionate about what they do and really want to make a difference and achieve something of significance. You might even see that they're exceptionally artistic. These fours with a wing three are often very talented in different kinds of art, whether it's music, dance, painting, writing, or other similar skill. They also have this ability to turn ideas into reality. So, thanks to the three with the four, so let me rephrase that, a four wing three, they manage to have at least some ideas they come up with and they turn them into something tangible. So, how do you use these new parts of your main type? Well, channel your emotional depth and drive for authenticity into tangible achievements. And you do that by balancing your inner world with your outward success. You can also embrace your creativity and passion to produce unique, meaningful work and use your ambition to build a legacy rather than chase external validation, which is really hard for fours. But I'm sure that some of us can relate to that. With your wing added to your main type, four adding a three, you can practice using your vulnerability as a strength to create deep connections with trusted people while grounding your self worth in your internal values and separate and celebrate small wins to avoid burnout. So, in a nutshell, this is our fours wing three. I hope this helps you see the benefits of our wings, our salt and pepper, the color that's added to our main type. Now, I know you've missed adding to your toolbox just as much as I have. So, are you ready to add your next toolbox tool? Well, here we go. Sleepiness. That's not the tool. That's the thing that we're trying to help and find ways to develop our self care and self love. So, sleepiness. This can be a big thing for so many. Maybe you're not a good sleeper. Truth be told, if I were being graded on my sleeping ability, I certainly would fail. It's not my gifting. Although I'm practicing being better at it, sleepiness can cause brain fog, including inability to remember parts of a conversation, where you were going, what you were doing. Now, just a side note, that can be part of getting older, but this gal, me, I'm not admitting to anything here about the old part. But I often can forget why I was going into a particular room and what I was trying to find. But more seriously, the side effects of sleepiness, it can cause you to be impaired in your concentration, slower reaction time, irritability, and increased risk of accidents. It can also have a long term health consequence, including higher risks for chronic conditions like obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, and it can weaken the immune system. Talking about this is in part because I love each and every one of you. And I also experience it quite often. I often struggle with sleepiness. So, here are a couple of things to do in real time when you're feeling overwhelmed with sleepiness. Some of these things you might be thinking, well, duh, these are easy. But keep in mind, when sleepiness is happening, these simple tasks under normal circumstances can be very difficult when you're feeling sleepy. Now, I bring this up because I struggle with this often, and I want to give us ways to balance out this whole self care. So, here's the tool. When you're feeling sleepiness or sleepy, move your body. Try getting natural light. Drink some water. Engage your mind by chatting with a friend or listening to music. Here's a hard one: minimize sugar intake. Splash your face, but please, no water fights inside the house. Change the temperature in the room to colder. And my favorite, well, it wasn't until I got to be an adult, the wonderful, amazing power nap. I totally swear by these. Disclosure: no actual swearing takes place before, during, or after said nap. A power nap is about 20 to 30-minute period of time, and it allows you to close your eyes, stop thinking for just a little while. It's great. I can't emphasize that enough. They are amazing. Give it a try. Depending on where you are right now, it could be a good thing. Another disclaimer: do not do this while you're driving and try to take a power nap. Okay, well, I'm off to take a power nap, but first, the legal stuff. This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute professional advice. This podcast is not a substitute for medical care. The materials, movies, videos, or books referred to in this podcast are recommendations only, and the views expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the podcast host, that's me, or sponsors. Join me each week as we dive into all things Enneagram, self-care ideas, self-love patterns, and rhythms, Share ideas from other reputable authors, doctors, and my favorite podcasters. A big thank you to you for being here with me today on Core Motivations Podcast. I know you have heard me say this many times, but truly, thanks for supporting our podcast, as it just couldn't be done without all of you. So hit the follow button, share this episode with someone, and please, please leave a review. That's how people find us. You can find me, Michelle, on Instagram at coremotivations_coach or through email, michelle@coremotivationscoach.com. So let me leave you with this. Until next time, and as always, I'm rooting for you.